Hello again, gamers. Welcome back for another episode of Grokking Twilight Imperium. I'm the board game captain, and today I'm going to be showing you how to grok the Empyrean. Now, the Empyrean are a mysterious alien race that were just introduced in the Prophecy of Kings expansion to Twilight Imperium. And this episode of Grokking Twilight Imperium was requested by one of my viewers, Avery Bailey. Thank you, Avery Bailey, for requesting I cover the Empyrean on my channel. So, these guys really seem to be, in my opinion, Twilight Imperium's version of the old ones or elder things from the Lovecraft mythos, first introduced as the old ones in At the Mountains of Madness. These are ancient alien beings who can survive in the vacuum of space and hold mysterious secrets about the history of the universe. That, combined with how they look, really feels Lovecraftian. So I do love the injection of Lovecraftian type factions into Twilight Imperium. They've done a really great job of, as they increase and have more and more factions, being able to keep them all unique and different in their flavors. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. How would I recommend you play the Empyrean? So first things first, let's talk about what you get to start with the Empyrean. So the Empyrean start with the planet The Dark, which has 3 resources and 4 influence. It's not bad as home planets go, but very interestingly, it is in a nebula. Now, nebulas cause some difficulty when moving through them or moving back out of them, so this is not really going to help you in any way. They do start with an ability that counteracts those movement restrictions, but that kind of movement restriction is not going to help protect the planet from enemies because it doesn't really affect you if you go into the nebula to attack. But the one ability that nebulas have that will help you to defend it is that when defending in a nebula, you get +1 to all your combat rolls. This is a rule that a lot of people overlook because how often do you battle in a nebula? It's not a common occurrence. It can happen. Sometimes a nebula winds up in a very strategically well-defended place, but often nebulas themselves don't have planets to defend, so it doesn't come up that much. But this is one of those rare occasions where it will, where that nebula will come up, and being able to defend and get +1 in it is going to be really great if somebody decides to get a little cheeky and try to come on over and conquer your home system. So that's pretty nice. Now, the Empyrean start with one technology. It is the Dark Energy Tap. It is one of the new techs, and this one is after you perform a tactical action in a system that contains a frontier token, which, by the way, the frontier tokens are part of the expansion as well, and you place them at the beginning of the game in all systems that do not contain planets, so empty space and anomalies, like those nebulas. If you have one or more ships in that system, you explore the token. Then your ships can retreat to an adjacent system that does not contain players' units, even if you do not have units or control planets in that system. So this is the way to get to explore those frontier token exploration tokens. Now, the ability to be able to choose to retreat out of it with this tech is really great because you can go in, you can explore the token, then you can pull back out into a neutral system that doesn't have a token on it. You can use that fleet again. You could use it to explore that system and colonize its planets, or you could use it to further move on and go after other systems. That'll be your choice. Or if you retreat into another empty system, you could chain it and explore again. So this is going to be, getting to start with this plus some of the other abilities they have are going to be a big part of the strategy with the Empyrean in my estimation. So I'm going to explain that as we go, but this is definitely something to take note of. The Dark Energy Tap is a really cool tech and is very useful. Now, for starting units, they start with 2 carriers, 4 infantry, 2 fighters, a destroyer, and of course, your first space dock. Now, having 2 carriers with 2 ground troops each is going to be really great for going out and colonizing multi-planet systems in multiple directions. You're going to be using a lot of those tactic tokens, which is going to come into my strategy later. You're going to want to, if you can, first move into an empty or anomaly-based system like a nebula, get that token, come back out, and then spend another token to have the same fleet colonize. This is going to be one of the faster expanding factions out there because of their starting units combined with the Dark Energy tab. You're just going to need to get more tactic tokens to be able to use that effectively. It's going to be rather important. All right, so the Empyrean abilities they come with, they have 3, which is pretty nice to have 3 abilities. The first one is Voidborn. Nebula do not affect your ship's movement. So they start with an ability to ignore nebulas, except for their defensive ability, and that is really great. That's going to help you out when moving around and trying to grab all of those frontier tokens and do a lot of exploring. There's a lot of cool stuff you can get with those frontier tokens. That's going to be very key to your strategy. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. The second ability they have is Aether Passage. After a player activates a system, you may allow that player to move their ships through systems that contain your ships. This can be really great way that when you have an alliance with a player, when you've traded off promissory notes of some kind, and that player doesn't want to attack you, but they want to attack someone on the other side, you can be like, hey, it's cool, go right ahead. This is not one that like directly helps you, but in a weird indirect way, it helps you to be tricksy and collude with other players to help gang up on another player, or just to be like, I'm not involved. You just head right on through. Oh, you want to go back and attack them? You head on through too. And the ability to do that is actually pretty awesome and can be situationally great. Their last ability is Dark Whispers, which is that they get an extra faction promissory note, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to talk about the promissory notes right now, actually. So they've got 2. They've got Blood Pact and they've got Dark Pact. So Blood Pact is when you give it to another player, they leave it face up. And when you and the Empyrean player cast votes for the same outcome, you get to cast 4 additional votes for that outcome. This is really great when you have an alliance going with someone else. When your goals coincide a little bit, you can really take over the ability to vote for certain things that you both want. The other one is Dark Pact. And the way this one works is when that player, who now has this, gives a number of commodities to the Empyrean player equal to their maximum commodity value. Therefore, it encourages them to trade full commodities to you. You will each gain a bonus trade good. This is a really awesome promissory note. You're going to want to play political. You're going to want to not get involved in too much direct conflict until you've taken important planets like Mechatol Rex itself. Before that, you're going to want to play a lot of political games and try to stay out of the fights and just be like, I'm neutral, I'm Switzerland, you head on through, go ahead, attack each other. And oh, look, why don't we trade all our commodities and then we get bonus trade goods? It helps us both. That's awesome. The next thing I want to talk about is the mech for the Empyrean as well as the agent, commander, and hero for the Empyrean. So the mech, which of course you start with access to right away, is the Watcher. Now this is a situationally useful mech, but can be very interesting. So you can remove a mech from a system that contains or is adjacent to another player's units in order to cancel an action card played by that player. There are some very powerful action cards out there, and the ability to spend a 2-cost mech just to use it to cancel a game-changing action card. Now, this is not something that's going to key directly into their main strategy, but this is something that situationally is going to be super useful. Every once in a while, your opponent goes, boom, and then you spring on them, oh yeah, by the way, my mech can cancel that action card you just played, so no, that's not going to happen. And it's really awesome that you can do that. It's a great little backup plan and a way to deal with enemies playing very powerful action cards. Okay, so now I want to talk about the agent, commander, and hero. So of course the agent, you start right away with the ability to use the agent, and it has a great ability that really keys in to the primary strategy I'm going to be recommending for the Empyrean, which is to do as much exploring of those empty systems as possible to get tons of the frontier cards from the frontier tokens, as well as then to go and also colonize lots of planets. So the agent for the Empyrean is Akamar, the Gift of Night. After a player moves ships into a system that does not contain any planets, you may exhaust this card and that player gains 1 command token. So the reason why this is so amazingly useful is, 1, first off, you can actually use this for players you're allied with to help them out as part of a promise in a deal. You can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to use my ability this round to help you. But also, if you're using it for yourself, and you go into an empty system or a system with a nebula, something like that, and you go and explore it and you get the token, and then you move out into a system without a token so that you could still activate that fleet again, you exhaust him and you get one command token back. So you explore that system for free. Once per turn, you can explore a system for free, which is going to help you because your tactic tokens, your command tokens, are going to be at a premium with this faction because you're going to be needing to use a lot of them because you're going to be wanting to move a lot of fleets twice and sometimes even more in one round, which is kind of crazy to think about. So you're going to want to any way to save on tokens is going to be incredibly helpful. So this combined with the dark energy tap and the ability to ignore nebulas is going to really help you when you are running around and exploring all those systems. And the cards you can get for exploring those systems are fantastic. You can find different sorts of wormholes in different areas. You could run into, and this is the one case where you wouldn't retreat out of that empty system, you can run into the legendary planet Mirage, which is one of the cards in here, because then instead of retreating out, you'd stay there and you'd actually colonize the legendary planet Mirage, which is a really good planet. You can find enigmatic devices, which allow you to discard them and pay 6 resources in order to get a technology of your choice, which is really cool. You can get Lost Crew, which allows you to get 2 action cards. You can find derelict vessels, which allow you to draw extra secret objectives. These are great. You can find merchant stations, which allow you to replenish your commodities or convert all of your commodities into trade goods. These are fantastic. And of course, the most valuable thing you can find in the Frontier deck is the Unknown Relic Fragment. Now, the Unknown Relic Fragment, there's 3 of these in this deck, and it counts as a Relic Fragment, but it's wild. It counts as any type of Relic Fragment of your choice, so this can really help you to getting the 3 Relic Fragments of a particular kind to be able to earn those relics, which are very powerful items and can be very, very useful. So yeah, you're going to go whole hog into this strategy, hopefully, if you're playing the Imperium. I think it's a big part of them, is finding these cards, being able to remove those tokens and get these cards for all of their extra added effect. And you'll be able to do it from turn 1, round 1, right away. So now the commander for the Empyrean gets released when you are neighbors with all other players. Now, being that you're going to move really fast towards the center of the board and quite possibly be a contender for first player to take Mechatol Rex, it shouldn't be too hard to become the player who very quickly is neighbors with everybody. Now, when you flip him over, his effect is after another player moves ships into a system that contains one of your command tokens, you may return that token to your reinforcements. Again, like I said before, with the strategy that I'm recommending, any way to get command tokens back is good, but also in addition to that, taking the token out of that system means even though you just took that system, just went in there and took it, someone comes in and attacks you and takes it back from you, you can activate it again and go into that system a second time for this round, which normally you're not able to do. It's kind of like a mini version of warfare. This is gonna only be really good for the situation when people attack you, but if you're gonna be that player who rushes up and takes Mechatol Rex real early, this is gonna come in handy. They're gonna attack you, take Mechatol Rex from you, but maybe you were building up a backup fleet and you come back in and they were decimated from their first fight with you. Now you come back in and take it right back again. Yeah, the Archivist Zhuange, he is really awesome. This is gonna be very useful for helping you to hold on to Mechatol Rex once you get it. The final of these leaders, your hero, as with all heroes, gets unlocked when you score 3 objectives. And his ability is, as an action, again, of all heroes, their action is once per game, one very powerful action, and then they're purged. They're removed from the game, so you never again. But his action is you get to place 1 frontier token in each system that does not contain any planets and does not already have a frontier token. Then for free you can explore each frontier token that is in a system that contains one or more of your ships, then purge this card. Now, this is not the most powerful of these that I've seen. There are definitely more powerful hero abilities. However, this is a very thematic one, a very interesting one for the Empyrean. You're going to clear out all the frontier tokens really fast in your area, and then if you slowly just move some ships out, you can plan this one very strategically to just like clear out the rest of this deck, almost guaranteeing it that you're going to be the person to find Mirage, almost guaranteeing it that you're going to be the person to find most of, if not all, of the unknown Relic fragments in here. It's a cool ability. It's not necessarily game winning unless you're already really close and you're going to use those Relic fragments to help you get some extra victory points to win, but it is fun and it is cool and I like it. Okay, so now let's talk about technologies you're going to go for. So the faction technologies for the Empyrean, neither one of which you can get right away. So I usually like to talk about these first, but because they both have prerequisites that you don't have yet, the Aether Stream requires you to have 2 blue techs, and you only start with 1, and the Void Watch requires you to have 1 green tech, and you start with none. I'm going to actually talk about the techs I recommend you get before those. So for blue techs, there are 2 other blue techs that I really like that after starting with the Dark Energy tap, I think are ones you should go for. So first is Anti-Mass Deflectors. This is a classic. It allows you to move into and through asteroid fields. Now, the reason I recommend this, and it has no prerequisites, the reason I recommend it is simple. You want to be able to get those frontier tokens, and there's going to be a frontier token in every asteroid field. You start with the ability to ignore the movement difficulties with nebulas, but not asteroid fields. So you're going to want to have this, especially if there's a lot of asteroid fields on the board, and especially if they're on your side of the board, you're going to want to have this so you can get those frontier tokens. Now, the next one is one that has a prerequisite of 2, and of course you already have the 2 because you have the Dark Energy tap and Anti-Mass Deflectors, and it is Fleet Logistics. During each of your turns of this action phase, you may perform 2 actions instead of 1. So you're going to want to be doing a lot of explore, then colonize. You want to get those planets before someone else gets them. So being able to do them quickly is going to be really good. I think Fleet Logistics is going to be a really, really good and useful technology for you to get. But then also as another option, you have your faction-specific blue technology, which is Aether Stream, which also requires you to have 2 blue techs. So that could be Dark Energy tap and Anti-Mass Deflectors, or maybe even all 3 if you have Dark Energy tap, Anti-Mass Deflectors, and Fleet Logistics all already, and then you get Aether Stream out as the second or third of these cards. After you or one of your neighbors activates a system that is adjacent to an anomaly, and of course you're going to be going around all those anomalies, you may apply +1 to the move value of all of that player's ships during this tactical action. So, being that you're going to want to place a lot of anomalies around your area of the board, this is going to allow your fleets to move a lot more quickly to get from area to area. It's also going to help them to zip around between like the anomalies and the empty space to then later jump into a neighboring planet system. Maybe the anomalies are a little further away. It helps them to move around to them. This will be useful. It's not game breaking, but it's fun and it's a cool tech. The other techs I want to recommend, now I'm going to go to the green so I can tell you what I would recommend to get before getting Void Watch, is Psychoarchaeology. Now, Psychoarchaeology says you can use the technology specialties on planets you control without exhausting them, even if those planets are exhausted. During the action phase, you can exhaust planets you control that have technology specialties to gain 1 trade good. Now, the reason I'm highly recommending this is a lot of your planets are going to be getting exhausted and exhausted quickly. A big part of why is the flagship, which I'm going to get into in a moment. So this will allow you to still get the tech specialties off of them for helping you to get some of the higher level techs that you're going to want, or some of the really powerful unit upgrades and eventually the War Sun when you want it. Now, the faction-specific green tech is Void Watch, which is after a player moves ships into a system that contains 1 or more of your units, they must give you 1 promissory note from their hand if able. This is really cool. Forcing them to give you one of their promissory notes, which can give you a cool ability, is really pretty awesome. I like it. It's not game-breaking, it's situational, but it's fun. It's a cool thing. It's like, oh, you're attacking me? Now you have to give me one of your promissory notes. And that's kind of cool. I dig that. And since they did it after they activated your system, you don't immediately lose it. Because remember, it's not the combat that makes you lose promissory notes. It's the activating of that player's system. The final thing I want to recommend is a yellow tech. It is a basic yellow tech. A lot of the higher technologies are as good for Empyrean as they are for anyone else, but they're not necessarily specifically good for the Empyrean. So I'm leaving them open to you and whatever you want to do with your strategy. But I think the Scanlink drone network very much fits the Empyrean strategy. It is when you activate a system, you may explore one planet in that system that contains one or more of your units. So the thing is, you're already going whole hog into exploring. You're exploring as much of the empty space as possible. This allows you to explore a planet a second time. And that is really cool. Or explore the planet in your home system the first time, because it's never been explored before. So this is a really good tech. It's going to really help you, again, to find those relic fragments. It's going to help you to find other really cool cards and eventually to get relics and to score victory points. So that is going to be very, very useful. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Empyrean flagship, the Dynamo. So the Dynamo is no slouch in combat. It has a combat of 5 and 2 attacks, which is pretty decent because basically combat-wise, it's like having 2 dreadnoughts in that system, which is pretty awesome. It also has a capacity of 3, which means you could be holding on to some ground troops. You can send it out with some small like escort frigates and cruisers to colonize even multi-planet systems, or you could be holding on to extra fighters in there to help you in your battles. Where the flagship really shines, though, is in its ability. So after any player's units in a system or an adjacent system uses sustained damage, you may spend 2 influence to repair that unit. And this is why a lot of your planets are going to be exhausted, because you're going to have dreadnoughts, you're going to have war suns, you're going to have your flagship, and you're going to have, of course, those mechs, which you're going to be saving for those special occasions when they can cancel an opponent's card. But if they get in a fight and they take damage, the way you're going to stay in that fight is by paying influence, and that's great. And you can even spend like 4 influence planets to repair a couple of them. I'm going to take sustained damage on this and sustained damage on that. Boom, I'm going to repair both. And these can be really game-winning, especially when defending important planets like Mechatol Rex. You got a fleet in there with your flagship and a couple of dreadnoughts and some cruisers and a carrier with a bunch of fighters and some enemies come in and they're doing like crazy damage. And like, boom, I do 3 damage. And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to sustain damage on both dreadnoughts and my flagship. And they're like, ha, I have the card that I can play that says when you sustain damage on one of your ships, it's just destroyed. I'm going to play that on your flagship. You're like, I've got one of my mechs on this planet. I'm going to discard it to stop you from doing that card. And then I'm going to pay 6 resources, and none of them are damaged at all. And tell me you can't see the value in this. That is awesome. I mean, they're just not going to take Mechatol Rex from you in that scenario if it's well defended. Even if they have as big or bigger of a fleet, you are going to be very well defended and you're going to stop them in their tracks. Okay, so now I want to talk about the strategy cards and what strategy cards I recommend for the Empyrean. So the Empyrean, I think they really got to go for the leadership card. And this is going to be a hard one to go for. A lot of people are going to want to go for it, and that is mainly due to the fact that it's the first in initiative order. But you want it for the 3 command tokens. The command tokens are going to be, really valuable for you. You're going to be moving a lot of fleets multiple times in a turn. You're going to want as many command tokens as you can get. So if you can get this early game when people aren't as super into getting the leadership card, you're going to want to go for it 100%. As a backup for if you're able to get 2, or if you are able to possibly, if you're not able to get the leadership strategy card and you need to go for something else, Warfare is a good backup because, again, it helps you to keep moving. You get one extra command token and can keep moving fleets and doing multiple colonizations, which is really good. And then after that, trade is pretty good because it allows you to replenish your commodities. You're going to want to use them for like your Dark Pact with somebody, so that's really nice also. Of course, technology is pretty decent because there are a number of technologies that they're going to want to get. If you can't get the technology card, of course, you can use the strategy tokens to do the secondary effect to get some technology going on. And there are a number of these you're going to want to get early. I don't think they're as gung-ho into certain techs as some other factions are, but there are a few you're really going to want to get, especially like the anti-mass deflectors and the Scanlink drone network, in my opinion, are really good. The other ones are still good, and you're going to want to build towards them. And then, of course, plenty of the other of the strategy cards are situational. They're when you want to score points, you're going to want to have the Imperial one, or when you want to stop someone from attacking you, you're going to want to have the Diplomacy one, or when you've got a blood pact, a dark pact going on, and with someone, and you're trying to get some things elected, you may want to go for politics. But I think the big ones are for the Empyrean are going to be leadership number 1, and then warfare number 2 are going to be the strategy cards they're really going to want to go for. Okay, so when you are playing the Empyrean, what secret objectives should you be looking for when you're digging for secret objectives, either when using the Imperial card ability or when finding those cards in the exploration deck for the frontier deck to be able to get free new secret objectives? Which ones are the gimmies? Which are the really good ones? There are 3 that I think are kind of gimmies for them. And there's 2 that are maybe not gimmies, but are still really decent for the Empyrean. So here you go. So the first one I want to throw out is the Foster Cohesion. Be neighbors with all other players. You're already going to do that because you need it to unlock your commander and his ability. So you're going to be trying to become neighbors with everybody anyway. So that's a really good one. If you get that, you're going to hold on to it. And once you go and take Mechatol Rex and become neighbors with everybody, you're going to be like, boom, I unlock him and I score a point. So that's going to be really good. The next one I want to throw out is the Learn Secrets of the Cosmos. It have 1 or more ships in 3 systems that are each adjacent to an anomaly. So again, you're going to be moving along the edges of your space, searching those anomalies and then colonizing the planets next to them. This is not going to be very hard. Plus, your home system starts with a anomaly. Just moving the 2 fleets out of your home system would mean you have ships in 2 different locations that are adjacent to an anomaly. And if you get this as your starting secret objective, it could be a total gimme because you could activate 3 systems adjacent to your home system, move your destroyer into 1, and each of your carriers into the other 2, and boom, you can score this right away. That's a total gimme. The last one is Destroy Heretical Works. Purge 2 of your relic fragments of any type. You're going to be getting a lot of relic fragments, and plenty of them you're going to want to use to get actual relics. But if you need that point to win, this is one that is very useful and very easy to get that point for the Empyrean. Now, the 2 others that are not quite gimmies, but are also seen very useful for the Empyrean is Brave the Void, which is win a combat in an anomaly. So again, it's going to be really awesome, especially if you find that legendary planet, Mirage, in a system with an anomaly, like an asteroid field or a nebula. It's probably going to be a little bit on the border of one of your opponent's areas, because usually you fill the road to Mechatol Rex as much as possible with actual inhabitable systems. So if an opponent wants to come in and take it, you're going to be trying to defend it. So winning a combat in that anomaly is not going to be that hard, especially since if you're defending a Mirage in a nebula, which would be like the most ideal thing, you get +1 to all your combat rolls when in a nebula, just like everybody does. But that is really, really awesome. And the last one I want to say is Master of Laws of Physics, to have 4 techs of the same color, because I think you probably are going to get 4 blue techs at least. This is not necessarily a gimme, but it is one you can easily work towards. It is definitely a good secret objective for the Empyrean. So there you go. So my strategy, I'm saying, is you're going to start moving out of your home system as quickly as possible. You're going to move into empty systems to search them, followed by retreating back into other systems and then activating more systems to be able to colonize them. You're going to be collecting the frontier cards, working your way towards getting relics, while also picking up lots of planets. You're going to want to get command tokens as quickly as possible, so getting that leadership will be key to get those bunch of extra command tokens, because you are going to need them. And you're going to want to colonize quickly, you're going to want to search quickly, you're going to want to pick up the Scanlink drone network as well as the anti-mass deflectors, so that you can search asteroid fields and search planets multiple times and win through those methods, as well as try to keep from fighting your opponents as long as possible. Keep them from attacking you while you get agreements going with them, and allow them to go through and attack other people until you sneak in and take Mechatol Rex and lock it down with your flagship and some dreadnoughts or maybe even a War Sun and just hold it and have some of your mechs down on it and make it really, really hard for your opponent to take it back from you. And that is how I recommend playing the Empyrean. I think these guys can be a really fun, really interesting faction to play. They have a very interesting strategy that goes along with them, but then they also have a lot of little things, a lot of things that if you have to deviate from your strategy, you're still fine. You don't have a very narrow scope. You've got a lot of abilities from characters and from their faction abilities that are just like, oh, I can do a little of this, or I can do a little of that. I can allow you to pass through me to attack another player, and you're both losing ships, so it definitely benefits me. I can work agreements out so that as long as your and my goals align, I'm going to definitely help to win certain political agendas that will really help me to win the game. This is a very interesting faction. This is one, I think, that maybe isn't the most beginnerish faction because they do seem a bit finesse, but if played well, I think you're going to have a good time with these guys. They're really cool, and they have some very, very interesting abilities and faction-specific technologies and characters. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video of Grokking Twilight Imperium, the Empyrean, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on. Right, Nico? What you doing? Did your mama not entertain you enough upstairs? Came down looking for a little attention? What's going on? How you doing? You're causing puppy bloopers. That's what you're doing. You're causing puppy bloopers. Many puppy bloopers. Oh my goodness. Don't chew on my hand. I need that hand. I need it. I'm going to be waving in front of the camera. It's going to be all chewed up. What's the good of that? What's the good of that? You're being silly. Okay. Are we done causing puppy bloopers? No? Not done causing puppy bloopers? Do you want me to pick you up? Okay. Come here. You okay? There's enough attention yet? You going to go back upstairs so Daddy can finish his video? Okay. Come on. You ready? Okay, Mama. Call him up. He's coming.